Good evening. Our top story this week. In New Jersey, 9 private foster care agencies are facing intense scrutiny after misspending $4.2 million. There is some concern growing over Maine DHHS's request for $4.2 million to handle an unexpected increase in the number of foster kids in the state, claiming that the child protective industry should be focusing more on keeping kids safely in their homes. In Wisconsin, foster parents are shocked after agency owners are accused of misspending $6.1 million on a lavish lifestyle for themselves, with the counties being left in the dark over this. Also, with Wisconsin officials saying that the reason they are getting away with it is thanks to regulatory loopholes. In Colorado, the government wants to reform the child welfare system and significantly reduce child abuse and neglect in the state, which would require more CPS agents going into your home more often. The U.S. Congress is considering the Help Separated Families Act, which would stop the government from splitting up families during deportation proceedings. Ohio is now restricting the use of dangerous and abusive physical restraints in schools. And in Oregon, a bill would establish a Bill of Rights for foster kids so they can make complaints about how they are being treated in CPS care without fear of retaliation or punishment. In Kentucky, a bill allowing closer scrutiny of the child abuse deaths by an independent review panel clears its first legislative hurdle amid concerns that the group's work would be done in secret. In Maine, the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, whose job it is to look at the snatching of children from the Wabanaki Indian tribes, is sworn in. In Tennessee, the child protective industry is withholding the details of their investigations in regards to child abuse deaths while under CPS watch and only handing a review panel selected files that don't reveal enough information about how they handled the cases so that they can do the job. And in Arizona, the child protective industry isn't keeping up on supervised visitations with the real parents. In Texas, the child protective industry is going through CPS agents left and right because they can't keep help because they're overworking them and underpaying them, according to the CPS boss. In Los Angeles, California, the child protective industry is under fire after failing to protect 13 kids who were killed while under the watchful eye of CPS agents. South Dakota is being accused of violating the Indian Child Welfare Act. 2 U.S. adoption agencies are being forced to close their doors due to financial troubles caused by the increasing difficulties that are coming with adopting kids from overseas these days. Facebook is being accused of making payments to charities who are advising them on child protection issues. And a new study finds that symptoms persist in 9 out of 10 cases where the kids are medicated for their ADHD symptoms. In Ethiopia, a court revokes the adoption of a baby girl by a family in the Netherlands. In France, 2 charity workers have been jailed for trying to smuggle 103 African children from Chad to France in 2007. And in the Philippines, a little foster girl who is set to be crowned 3rd runner-up in the Miss Valentine contest is found dead about 100 miles from her home. In Canada, a teenager says he's sorry for luring his foster mother to the basement where he tried to beat her to death. In Nova Scotia, a group of kids wins a settlement due to the child abuse that they suffered while at the Nova Scotia Home for Colored Children. And accusations, impossible demands, and problem parents are driving Canadian teachers away from the profession in droves within the first 5 years of their career. In England, the aunt of little girls who were orphaned when their parents were massacred while in the French Alps wants to adopt them. A British social worker takes the wrong kid from a school for a supervised visit with another kid's father. British social workers are trying to figure out how to handle cases where kids have found their real parents on Facebook or vice versa. British MPs think that children in foster care should have the opportunity to meet the judges who are making the decisions in their cases. And a foster parent wins an injunction against the local authorities' planned removal of their foster kids who they were going to adopt. In Colorado, a former CPS boss pleads guilty to misdemeanor child abuse. In Delaware, a father gets pissed and shoots his wife at a courthouse during a custody battle. In Florida, a CPS agent gets busted with child porn. A former Florida CPS agent is arrested for failing to report her husband who was molesting children. And a former Florida foster mother gets 55 years for kidnapping and child abuse in a case where a little girl went missing more than a decade ago. In New Mexico, a foster parent is busted for abusing the kids who are in her care. In West Virginia, a couple is arrested for physically, emotionally, and sexually abusing the children who they adopted. In California, a former CPS boss says that the case of Seth Ireland, a boy who was killed at the hands of his mother and stepfather regardless of being ratted out to the child protective industry, could have been handled differently, and had they done so, he might still be alive today. In Massachusetts, a guest speaker at a community college warns boys and men about how men so often get screwed in divorce cases. And Finally, tonight in Nebraska, a sheriff's deputy cites his CPS agent for returning a girl to her drunk and abusive parents after he had removed her because of concerns for her safety. For these stories and all the latest dirt on the child protective industry, visit www.legallykidnapped.com. And until next week, this is Baby LK, over and out.